Hey, how's it going out there? Hope everybody is well. I just wanted to let you know that we could be having a little bit of an issue with the audio, so please let me know if everything is okay in the live chat. It's saying that my streaming connection isn't that strong, but what I see on my end looks pretty clean. So let me know if everything is going through okay. Give me a thumbs up. All right, as people start to load in, and if you can answer that question, anybody, that would be great. I just want to let you know that Car Cost Canada is the main sponsor of the channel. Audio is okay, thank you, or I'll appreciate that. If you haven't signed up yet, go to Car Cost Canada and click on the subscription. Use the promo code Motormouth and become an expert member. It opens up more searches for you, and as we start to go through, we're going to see more and more incentives. Already seeing 0% interest, already seeing deferred payments and things from different brands. So that's where you're going to get all of the up-to-date information, discounts, rebates, all that kind of stuff. All right, so everybody's coming in saying the audio looks good. All right, before we get to the questions, we have some pictures of cars. We have Alex from Israel with another video question. If you want to get a video question through, you can send it to me, and my email address is zach@motormouth.ca, Z-A-C-K, not C-H, Z-A-C-K @motormouth.ca. And for Americans, it's Z-A-C-K @motormouth.ca. All right. I want to bring up this email because this came through from Canadian Black Book. Full disclosure, I've done work for Canadian Black Book for many years. They are a value guide. If you're taking a vehicle in to get it traded, that's what the dealer would look up to see what the value is that they should offer you. So they look at the value of cars that go through the auction, and they have seen in 1 month the biggest decline ever, a 3.3% decrease. Now, keep in mind, for wholesale prices, 3.3% is for 1 month, not for a year. So that is quite a dramatic drop. Now, I just want to go through, and this is very important because for most people, they forget that the most expensive thing about owning a car is the residual value, is the money you get when you trade it in or at the end of the lease. So they have a couple of different scenarios. One is the most likely. They believe that we're going to have basically a recession from quarter 1, the one that just ended, right through until quarter 3, which will be October. We're going to be in a recession, and hopefully things will jumpstart after that. They think there's going to be a 25% drop in new car sales, down to 1.4 million units in the Canadian market. They project a wholesale price drop of 17%, okay, for 1 to 6-year-old cars. This is quite important. And then they expect after 36 months, the values will start to come back. So their prediction is an 18% drop for SUVs, vans, and light trucks, and 15% for cars. They say 36 months from now, the effect of the pandemic will be felt, but they project the values will return to close pre-virus levels with only small impact on wholesale values. Now they have a second scenario, which was much more severe. If we get into a protracted, very long recession, that would mean a 26% drop in wholesale prices for SUVs and light trucks, and 22% for cars. So what this really means is that initially, over the next little while, we're going to start to see the prices of used cars come down, okay? And that means that there's an opportunity for people to buy. And here's what I want you to think about. If you are thinking of getting a new car, there's going to be all kinds of deals on new cars. I would strongly encourage you to lease, because if you are currently leasing a car now and the lease was going to expire, say, in 6 months, the value of that car, from what Canadian Black Book is saying, will decrease quite considerably. And that means that whoever owns the car, that's the lease company, be it Ford Finance or Toyota Finance or Subaru Finance or Honda Finance. They're the ones that own the car. They're the ones that absorb the depreciation. So at the end of that lease, if the car is worth, up to their calculations, anywhere 10 to 15% lower, they absorb that. You don't. So one thing to consider, even though you might be in the position to buy a car, it might be prudent to lease the car for the first 3 or 4 years. And if there's a massive discrepancy between what the car is worth and what you owe, you can always just give the car back. All right. We have Car Geek doing a super chat. No question, just donating $5 to the channel. So I appreciate that. If you want to get your questions answered right away, do a super chat and donate to the channel, a small amount, and also get your question through. Somebody mentioned on the YouTube comments that I missed a super chat last time. So if I did, I sincerely apologize. There's lots going on here. I'm the one trying to read these and talk to you and think about everything else that's going on. All right. Now, we'll do a few questions and then I'm going to get into the pictures. Not a lot of pictures came through the last few days, but anyway. Are auto journalists required to take specialized driving courses to test drive on the track? If yes, where did you take such courses? Well, the interesting thing is that a lot of auto journalists, I'm not saying all of them, not a lot of them, some of them are not good drivers. There's a select few are fantastic drivers, really good drivers. So my colleague Russ Bond at Motoring TV is a first-rate driver, and if you go up against him, he's like the Michael Jordan of driving. He will beat you. He will try everything to beat you. So there are some excellent drivers who have lots of experience. There are some auto journalists that are really not good drivers at all, and then there's people in the middle. I would say I'm sort of in the high-end competent driving. I've done a lot of on-track experience. And when I first started reviewing cars in 1992, we had to, as part of the Automobile Journalists Association of Canada, do a track. Basically, you have to go around with a race car driver and to show you the track. It really wasn't an in-depth course, but it certainly was somebody teaching you. Now, here's the great thing about what I do, is whenever we go to an event with a car on the track, they have pro drivers there. And if you're not a confident driver, you can ask the pro driver to come with you and to talk you through the course and to give you tips on driving. When I started out, I took this opportunity all the time, because when you're driving with Porsche, they have Porsche factory drivers like Hurley Haywood would be your instructor. And you ask them, well, where is the right corner? Where do I brake? Where do I put on the gas? So you've got world-class drivers teaching you how to drive. And then some people don't take that opportunity and they're still not very good drivers. So I would put myself in the higher end competent category. I can hustle my way around a racetrack pretty well. So there is no hard and fast rule, but when you go to these track events, they typically have pro drivers there. Okay. All right, let's do a couple more questions and then we'll get into the pictures. And then he goes on to say, do car manufacturers give you some pointers before you test drive and tell you to go and have fun? It's a bit of both. Ian Fu, it feels like Japanese luxury brands have really fallen in the desirability of their products. Why do you think that's the case? And how has the brand like Genesis gotten it right? Well, one thing you have to remember, it's beer o'clock. I've just remembered. I haven't opened my beer yet. I forgot last time. Someone actually texted after the fact that I should have texted my son to get me my beer, which was probably a great idea. No more driving for me today. I would suggest that, yes, in the case of Infiniti, in the case of Acura, they certainly have lost their mojo. Lexus still is a very desirable brand based mostly around reliability and the fact that those cars just work and they're well done. I would suggest that what Genesis is doing right is their attention to detail, and that's where they're winning. Now, it's much easier to have attention to detail when you only have 3 cars. So you've got the GV70, the GV80, and the GV90. Coming this summer will the G70, G80, G90, the GV80, the SUV in the middle, will be coming this summer. So their portfolio of cars is is really quite small. But the good thing is they have a laser focus on those products. And what they're doing with their products is attention to detail. I can almost bet you that there is going to be a reply from some of these other brands. Genesis is getting the industry to sit up and take notice, maybe not at the same level as Tesla, but Tesla certainly has a lot of the industry sitting up and taking notice about their electrification, their in-screen infotainment system, their connectivity with their cars, and a lot of things that they've pushed other brands forward with. Genesis, in my opinion, when this GV80 comes out and other new products and even smaller utility, a compact utility, are going to force the Japanese brands to sit up and pay attention, and even the German brands. So I think it's going to be quite interesting to see what they do. Philip316 says, hey Zach, how does PPI work in a private sale? Does the owner let you take the car yourself, or does the owner need to be with you at the mechanic? This is a very good question. So that's a super chat. Thank you very much, Philip316, for asking that question. So PPI is a pre-purchase inspection. So anybody that's looking for a used car should have the vehicle. If you're really seriously getting down to thinking of really buying it, spend the few $100 and get a pre-purchase inspection. So in this case, because it's not at a dealership, say you have Bob's Honda, you would take the Honda Civic and ask them to take it over to Larry's Honda, and the Larry Honda mechanic will do the pre-purchase inspection. Please make sure that Bob and Larry Honda are not owned by the same people, okay? Or they're not cousins or brothers or something, okay? So you have that ability with a dealership. This dealership will take the car over to this dealership. You pay this dealership to do the pre-purchase inspection, and you're the only one that reads that, okay? Because you've paid for it. Now, when it's a private sale, you can't get one dealer to send it over to another dealer. So what you do is you say to the potential buyer, I want to do a pre-purchase inspection. I want to make sure this car is mechanically sound. If they do not want to do that, then you don't want to buy that car. So what you do is you say to them, can you take this prospective car to a mechanic of your choice? So if it's a small specialty shop, say, can I get the car inspected? And the guy says, sure. And he says, can you take it down to this shop and leave the car there, and they'll do an inspection. I sold an old Volkswagen van of mine. A guy actually flew in from California to buy it. He was in Vancouver for a couple of days, and I took my van down to an independent Volkswagen mechanic here, and then left the car for the day, and then the guy who paid for the inspection went and picked up the paperwork, and I went and picked up the car. So that's how you do it. Get them to drop the car at the mechanic, and then you pay that mechanic to do the inspection. Ted Sarmiento, I hope I got that right. Cheers from New York City. Well, I hope you're safe in New York City. Man, all the news coming out of New York City is not good on the health front, so hopefully everybody there is good. Lease of Macon 2-liter is ending in June. Wanted to purchase end lease for residual value of $30,000. Listening to what you said about economy, should I lease again? I love my Taycan. Macan, not Taycan, I should say. Macan. Now, here's the thing is, the vehicle is already depreciated. And if you're buying the car for $30,000, that seems like you've already paid off like roughly half of, probably half the value of the car. So the amount of decrease in the value, if things were to go in the wholesale market down, you could do a couple of things. You could look at what vehicles are selling for. Now keep in mind, when a dealer buys a car off lease, they have to refurbish it. Usually it has a certified pre-owned warranty. Usually they've put in some money into the car, so therefore the price of the car is going to be higher than your $30,000. So here's the thing. Here's the question I have for you. How long do you plan on keeping this Macan? If you plan on keeping it for 3 or 4 years, I would probably buy the car you already own. You have a history with it, you know the car, $30,000 for a used Macan sounds like a pretty good deal. Now, if you're only going to keep the car for a year or 2 years, then the value might depreciate, as I mentioned, with this COVID-19 and the economy. Therefore, you could lease a car and then have a guaranteed residual value. In this situation, $30,000 is a lot of money, but it's not a huge amount for a car, and certainly not for a Porsche. I would probably be inclined to keep the one you've got. More for new cars, brand new cars. Leasing might be the way to go to hedge your bets against values of cars going down. Okay. CC Mund, I asked about the E-Class wagon on a previous live event, but thought I might make more sense going smaller. What do you say between the V60 A4 all-road and the C300 wagon? I did have a question last time about this. I wonder if it's the same question. I am a big fan of the C300. I think it's a wonderful car, great in the station wagon. It's kind of like the dress shoe. The all-road from Audi, of course, is more like the cross trainer, a little bit more rugged looking. Excuse me. And the V60 is really quite sporty, especially if you get the T6. So they're all excellent choices. I would say probably the wagon, the C300, might have the most room in it. Excuse me. There's really not a bad one in the bunch there. The only thing is, I would say, is that the V60 has not been proven, or the Volvo cars have not proven to be as reliable as the other two. But there's nothing wrong with that. And that would be the sort of size I would shop for personally. I think that's the really nice size to have for a wagon. If it was the three, if I was just going to instantly answer off the top of my head, it would be the A4. But that's only because I think that that car does everything really well. It's a good all-rounder. Gladio 2, Honda better get its act together when it comes to their reliability. It takes a long time to get that reputation, but it could quickly be lost. Look at Nissan. Well, the thing is with Nissan is that, you know, it has been shown that their reliability hasn't been at the same level as Honda and Toyota for a while. So it could be argued that they have let it slide over time. So I would say that even the fact that it's a Japanese brand, the perception in many people's minds puts that car higher up. I would suspect people like you and I know that Honda has had a few issues in reliability over the last couple of years, but the public generally does not. You know, us car nerds, we know that, but if you said to somebody on a street corner, can you name me 3 reliable Japanese cars? They would say Toyota and Honda would probably be the number 1 and number 2. And that isn't going to change anytime soon. It takes a long, long time for the perception to go south. I disagree with you. It takes a long time for it to go south, and it takes a forever to right that ship. Just look at General Motors. Gladio 2 does the super chat and asks the question, I know you love the Grand Cherokee, but it has poor safety from the IIHS. How can you continue to recommend it over safer vehicles? I don't know why the Grand Cherokee, it wouldn't be. Are you confusing it with the Wrangler? The Wrangler didn't have great quality scores, but I would say that the Grand Cherokee, I'm going to have to look into that when we're done. I don't have time to look it up right now. But I do love the Grand Cherokee. Are you sure you're not confusing it with the Wrangler? Huge Haggis is here and says for everybody to like and subscribe. Hey, while we're doing that, I see that we've got over 140 people on right now. Smash the like button. Those that are here watching live probably do subscribe to the channel. If you're watching after the fact and you like the live chat here, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when we're going live. Just an off the top of the head here. It's every Sunday, Tuesday, that's today, and Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. We do it at the same time. Okay, so let's get into some pictures here. We didn't get many. I don't know why. The pictures have fallen off. So the first one is Marcus. Marcus has a 2010 Mustang, plastidip. I know you could plastidip wheels and stuff. I didn't know you could plastidip the whole car. Nice looking Mustang. That's a V6 Mustang 2010. And on the right, you obviously like blue, and so do I, is a beautiful S5 Sportback that he's getting. So switching it up. That's a beautiful car too. Next up, these, by the way, Marcus and the next one, Bosco, came in with literally minutes to go before we went live. And this is Bosco. He has a V6 Accord lightly modified, And V6 Accord, this generation of Accord I really liked. This was a really nice car. And I asked people to send in questions via video, and we've only ever had one taker. It's Alex from Israel. He got a question on last time. He's also our farthest away contributor living in Israel. I'm here on the west coast of Canada. He's in Israel, which is like 3 in the morning there just now. So here's Alex with question number 2. Once again, if you want to get a video question in, zach@motormouth.ca. We've shown cars. Now we can show your mug. So here's Alex with his questions.
Hey Zach, a question for you today. Any news on the new GR Yaris from Toyota, 260 horsepower, 3-cylinder, 1.3 liter engine? Clever 4-wheel drive, little hot, very hot I said, hatchback. And the second, how you do with the COVID-19 in your country? We actually ended lockdown, open all the shopping centers, malls, except restaurants. Thank you.
All right, so Alex, good to see you here on the live chat. So I got your video this morning, my time, and I got right on the email, and I emailed Toyota Canada to the PR department and asked them about the GS Yaris and the GS Corolla. So the car you're referring to is basically the rally-inspired Yaris, all-wheel drive with a 3-cylinder engine with 275 horsepower, 1.6 liter. Now, that car is not going to be coming to North America because we particularly like bigger cars. But there is movement afoot about the GR Corolla with the same basically layout, but a bigger car that would appeal more to our market. Now, the reason that they haven't confirmed, so back to the point I asked Toyota Canada. I said, is there any truth to the rumor that the Corolla is coming? And they said, nothing has been confirmed. They don't want to talk about future product. They did put out a little questionnaire in the United States to say, if they brought it, would there be interest? Which makes you think that they're going to bring out a high-performance hot hatchback from Toyota with 275 horsepower, 3-cylinder, 1.6 liter. That would be great. So nothing is confirmed for the North American market. There's speculation about a Corolla version. So that's directly from Toyota Canada. Now, back to your COVID question. Good to see things are opening up in Israel. I think that's great. I think also you live in a country with warm weather, and anything we've noticed with influenza over many years is obviously the cases of flu go down in the summer warm months and then come back in the winter. So maybe somewhere like Israel has hot weather this time of year especially that can kill that bug. So it's good to see that things are opening up. Now here in the west coast of Canada, in British Columbia, things are opening up quicker than they are in the rest of Canada. Our cases here in BC are some of the lowest per capita of anywhere in the Western world. Very low case numbers here in British Columbia, and we're going to slowly start to open things up. So not to the same level you are in Israel, but hopefully not too far behind. Okay. Back into, hey, come on. We have 163 current viewers and only 63 likes. You guys can do better than that. Come on, you can do better than that. Smash that like button. All right, I got to find where I was here. What are your favorite car brands to review? Well, it's pretty easy. Everybody knows I'm a huge Porsche fan. I love Porsches, easy. I like Volkswagens. I like driving Volkswagens when I get a chance, especially fun cars like the GTI is such a great, it's the gold standard really. I like a lot of German cars. What would my third one be? I like trucks, like once in a while I like driving pickup trucks. So it's hard to say that there's any favorites because there's like certainly cars inside brands that I really, really like Gladio 2 saying, the Grand Cherokee. I'll take a Grand Cherokee anytime, even though, Jeep might not be my favorite brand to review overall. Does the e-tron have regen braking? How does this work? And how much range can I expect to get back? Okay, Sir Frederick, I'm going to get to your question in a second. I just want to get back to e-tron in a moment. So we're getting some good super chats here, which I like. Regen working in the e-tron, yes, there is regen braking. Every single time you lift off the throttle and you have forward momentum, the wheels turn into generators and then put electricity back into the battery. Now this is anytime you're lifting off the throttle and anytime you're braking. It has a quite aggressive system. You can set up the regen to be more aggressive or less aggressive. And it's really quite something. When we were in Abu Dhabi last year to test drive it, we drove up a mountain and then they showed how much energy you use to get up the mountain, and then they drove down the mountain using regen on the way down, and we recaptured most of the energy it took to go up the mountain on the way down. So regen braking, and if you're good at it, you can actually capture quite a bit of energy back. So driving an electric car is a real sort of skill, and the better you are at doing that regen, the longer the battery will last, or the range will last. This is Sir Frederick. I'm back, test drove the Escape Hybrid and liked it. 978 kilometers a tank in city, wow. Thoughts on Ford hybrid and engine, and do they make their own hybrid engines? That's a great question. They didn't used to, then they went to, I'd have to find out more about that. I don't know if they make their own hybrid system, but they had hybrids in the Ford Escape for quite a long time. So it's not like they're new at this. I think that's fantastic. The thing is, the Ford Escape is only in front-wheel drive, which is a real missed opportunity, but something they could, fix in upcoming years. Now that is amazing fuel economy, and that's in city driving. But here's the thing: is hybrids typically are more efficient in city, not on highway conditions. So the RAV4 is the same. It's more efficient in the city than it is on the highway. And actually the two of them are almost equal. Here's the thing about the Escape generally. I drove the new Escape. There is a review on the channel. I was really impressed with it. I thought they did a very good job with the new Escape. I didn't get a chance to drive the hybrid. It wasn't available, just the gasoline version for me. So I don't really want to say more than that right now, Sir Frederick, because I haven't had a chance to drive it, but I'm looking forward to the Ford Media Fleet just opened up. I just got an email the other day that they're going to introduce cars again, so I'm going to get my hands on some Ford products. I have a Mustang EcoBoost, I have an Explorer booked, and I'll find out about the Escape Hybrid. But almost 1,000 kilometers a tank is very, very good. And I'll also find out about if it's their own proprietary technology. The original one wasn't. What's your thoughts on a cash purchase versus financing for 2020 Subaru WRX? It's 0.5% interest rate for 24-36 months term from Subaru, a good deal. Well, basically a 0.5% interest rate is, I consider that kind of free money. You're not paying much on that. What you might want to do is, if you're not in a rush, wait to see what happens in the month of June. Go to Car Cost Canada, sign up using the promo code MOTORMOUTH, and see, because what that will show you at the beginning of next month is if there's been any change. So here's the thing, Brian. Can you afford to pay off roughly $40,000 car in 24 or 36 months, right? So, and if you have the cash, why wouldn't you just buy it? That's something to consider. I don't really know your finances. I think there's much more to it than just that. But 0.5% interest is pretty low. I saw a great deal on the Ultimate Palisade. What was your experience with the push button instead of traditional stick shifter? That's what's holding me back. Here's the thing: is you get used to anything. The Palisade is. It's fine. I mean, a push button, you get used to it. It's not really that big a deal. Here's what I've found test driving cars for, almost 30 years is whatever's in the car, you adapt to it. After a week or 2 weeks, even cars that have like not very good ergonomics, you remember where the sunroof is or how to change gears. It's not that big a deal. If you like the car, you will adapt. Trust me. Humans are adaptive. You will learn to use the push button transmission. I prefer the shifter. I like the shifter and the look in the Telluride. Here's the thing. If you don't like it, then try the Telluride. It's the same platform, same engine, with just a different feel. But I wouldn't worry about the push button. So Jorge says, looks like Peroni today. Yes, it's a Peroni drink. I noticed something though. You probably notice if you watch these regularly, I cough. I have acid reflux. The Becks that I drove last week, I drank last week, no reflux. Peroni, I get it. What's with that? But I do like Italian beer. Moretti, Peroni, Mino Fussi. Medium berry is when I'd go to sit on the patio in Italy. Zach, I'm a transplant RN, so it's still pretty bad here in New York City. Oh, this is from Ted, who is in New York with the Macan. I'm a transplant RN, so it's still pretty bad here in New York City. Thanks for the well wishes. Scotty Kilmer tells me the Macan is a money pit. Thoughts on the 2-liter reliability long term? It's an Audi Q5, right? Well, here's the thing is, Scotty Kilmer, I wouldn't put any, I wouldn't say don't put any stock in what he says. He has some valid points. But here's the thing is, the Scotty Kilmers of the world, we'd all be driving Corollas. I mean, yeah, the Corolla is a great car and will run forever. But, there's more to life than just, is the car going to start and drive? And you know what? All I can tell you is look at the quality scores for Porsche. They're right near the very top. And I would disagree with him that the 2-liter is a money pit. So here's the thing is, you've had the car, you've leased it, it's coming up towards the end of its lease, so you've had it for probably close to 3 years. Has it been a money pit? Has it been back to the dealer a lot? Is it a good car? I would disagree with that. And yes, it's the exact same engine they use in the Q5. The platform for the Macan is based on the Q5, heavily modified though. It isn't exactly the same car. So I would disagree. Scotty Kilmer, first of all, look at his garage. What a hot mess that is. Is that the guy you want giving you advice on cars? I'd like to get a Mazda 3, but when I lived out east, they start to rust after 5 or 7 years of poor reputation for this. Is it still something I should be concerned about? Well, it really was an issue. I mean, the Mazdas, I would see them from Quebec that would be driving here. A lot of the tree planters would drive across the country from Quebec out here, and I'd look at them and I'm like, holy crap, that thing's just like falling apart. That's a better question, to be honest, for people who live in Eastern Canada. I live in the West. We do not have the salt and the wear and tear on cars. So I would get on a Mazda chat room forum and see what other people who live in eastern states and eastern parts of Canada have to say about rust and if their cars are holding up better. And hey, we have a lot of people on here right now. If anybody has an experience with a newer Mazda 3 with rust, feel free to chime in and give an answer here to Tom. I live in the land of no salt, so it's hard for me to say. Saw the Nissan GT-R review. It's a bit expensive for the age. Do you think it will work some deals, or they just try to get what they can on something like this low volume car? I would suggest that there's not a lot of them floating around. And I think that the GT-R actually offers a lot. You think about how much horsepower it has. It's all-wheel drive. It's turned out to be a way better car than it was initially. They've done incremental changes to the car to make it better. It's actually quite comfortable. It's usable. It's got a good trunk. So you start looking at other cars with that sort of supercar territory, and it's actually quite a deal. I think it's going to be quite easy to see if there's going to be any deals out there. All you need to do is search for, on Auto Trader and so on for GTRs, and you'll get a good idea how many of them are out there. If there's a lot out there, then there's going to be some good deals. If there aren't very many out there and there weren't that many brought into the country, probably not. But this would be the time. This would be the time to go in and, you know, maybe try a stink bid with a dealer and see if you could get a good deal. Will it be more expensive to lease now if residual values are lower? This is from Jason Choi. This is a very good point, Jason. So what might happen now is residual values of cars might be dropped. So a very good residual value for a car after 3 or 4 years would be 50%. They might drop that residual value down to 40% to hedge themselves, which means you're paying more per month. So I would say that yes, you might, but it's going to be so competitive out there. Some brands might actually, you know, retain the value of their cars artificially by keeping those residual values up. BMW is a brand that does this quite a bit. So the real way to find out is to be a keen student of the marketplace. Go onto Car Cost Canada, sign up, use the promo code MotorMouth, but also look online. A lot of the brands have calculators and configurators and show you the cost of the lease per month, the lease value at the end, and the percentage. So if you do the homework, you'll be able to see for yourself if residual values are going down or if brands are maintaining them. Howie M. caught Thomas Tetzlaff on Everyday Reviews this afternoon. He promised the Mark 8 Golf R would offer manual for North America. Well, there's some good news. So my pal Brian Chow of Everyday Reviews had a live show today with Thomas Tetzlaff from Volkswagen Canada, the head of PR there, good friend as well. And there you go, right from the head of PR in Canada, the Golf R will offer a manual for North America. That's good to know. Thanks, Howie. Derek says, hi, Zach. Is option with adaptive dampers on A4 all-road is good to have. Additional service required. I've never had this option. Please advise. Thank you. Yes, there can be addition. It's not really additional service. There's just more that possibly could go wrong. I'm trying to remember now what kind of adaptive dampers it has. I would just say that it's probably not electromechanical, but a current that goes through the dampers to change the valve rate, basically, or the spring, or what's the word I'm looking for, to basically change the firmness of them and make them compress or decompress at a lower rate. If you're worried about it, order it without it. I would suggest that you probably don't need it, and go without it if you're worried about it. But I don't think it's going to be a high probability that something's going to go wrong with that. And if you're keeping it long term, maybe don't get it. If you're only keeping it for 3 or 4 years, then maybe opt for it. But I'm just trying to think what the system would be. Like, it wouldn't be what I'm trying to get at. It's not an air suspension, and it's not an oil system. It's basically they put a current through the shock absorber to change the rate of the rebound. Is there any data available on how many owners keep cars to their end of life versus trading or selling? I could find that out, but off the top of my head, I don't know. Huge Haggis is here. Nate from Stratford, Ontario. Hey, Zach. Many of us have had car posters on our wall which defined an era. I had a black Countach with gold rims. What did you have? I had, in the 80s, I had a Lotus Esprit Turbo. It wasn't the James Bond one. It too was black, so it was a nice long Lotus Esprit. That was the car, but black. I'm trying to remember what color the wheels were, but that was certainly one of them. I've got lots of posters and things around here of different cars, but I'd have to go and grab them. I'm just going to go to the bottom and see if I'm missing anything. This is Jorge saying about Mazda and rust. I have a 14 Mazda 6 manual transmission. I had about $2,300 in repairs to brake system in first year or two because of rusting, rear brake system. Mazda eventually fully reimbursed me when recalled. Well, that's good to know. So I think that it's good to find out from people who own cars if they're having issues around rust. Somebody else is posting here about Scotty Kilmer. Scotty is an old mechanic. No updates for him. I don't know. Scotty is clickbait. Yeah, well, that is true. I think Scotty Kilmer is sort of stuck in a different era, and I'm not sure the last new cars he worked on. I appreciate the insight you provide from Black Book at the beginning. Stuff like that sets you apart from other auto journalists. Well, I try to pass this stuff on when I can. I will do more of that sort of car news. I think that's probably what you're getting at. Yeah, the residual value of a car is one of the most important things I look at. So I buy cars that I like. I buy cars that I think are going to hold their value. I owned a 5 Series BMW. The first 5 Series BMW that came into Canada was the E34. And I owned that car for, how many years? 5 years? I sold it for like $2,000 or $3,000 less than I paid for it because there were so few of them around. I knew that there was always going to be a buyer for the car. In fact, a guy came to test drive the car at the house and he says, you know, I can get a Passat for like a Passat wagon for $5,000 less. I said, go buy it. This is the only 5 Series for sale in the whole country. So I had one car that was available. So I got my price. A woman bought it, interestingly enough. Her boyfriend said, you should buy this car. It's a cool car. So I had, what other cars have I owned? Well, our original Cayenne. We owned it for 6 years. And from what we paid for it and for what we sold it for, it worked out to only $330 a month to own that car. It was a screaming deal. So yeah, residual value is certainly something that I think that you should always look at when you're buying a car. Which car review site is more reliable between Edmunds, Kelley Blue Book, JD Power, and Consumer Reports? They all seem to be a bit different in their top lists. So Edmunds is a private company that basically does their own research. Consumer Reports is a consumer site where people who own cars and also subscribe to the magazine, traditionally was a magazine, and the site also give input on the cars. JD Power is interesting information is that when they survey people with cars, they have no idea who they are, which is the big difference between Consumer Reports. People who subscribe to Consumer Reports to find out what's the best dishwasher, what's the best portable air conditioner, who makes the best fridge and the best washer dryer, that's a certain kind of person. Typically conservative, typically male, typically older, right? So the cars that do well with Consumer Reports appeal to those kinds of buyers. They're typically more risk averse. That's why they subscribe to Consumer Reports, because they don't want to buy things without doing their homework. So those people buy risk averse kinds of cars. Now, JD Power, on the other hand, just sends out surveys randomly to people all around North America. They might be that older conservative male, they might be a woman, they might be a young person. So it's a broader spectrum. So I like the data from JD Power and Associates when it comes to the 3-year dependability study. That's vehicles after 3 years worth of ownership. They used to do a longer study. They got rid of it because they found after 3 years, it wasn't so much to do with what the car manufacturers did to make the car. It was about how well the car was maintained. So that was too much variable there. How Kelley Blue Book and Edmunds come up with their quality scores, I'm not quite sure. That's the main difference between JD Power and Consumer Reports. What's the best compact American SUV? I have huge respect for your in-depth knowledge in every aspect of your car. Well, thank you. The best compact American SUV. I would say I'm a big fan of the Chevy Equinox. And if back to quality scores, if you look at J.D. Power quality scores for the Chevy Equinox, they are very high. So I think that that is probably an American compact utility. I would say that the Chevy Equinox, they're going to be updating the Chevy Equinox for next year, for 2021. Probably just going to be a mild facelift, changing some elements of the car. But that would be one I would certainly look at. Hey, where the hell you been? DJ Pleasure Seeking Missile is here. You've been away for a while, but it's nice to see you back. Hey, Zach, just letting you know I finally got a haircut. Good for you. I'm waiting. A week Friday, so I got a week and a half to go. I have my appointment booked at 2:45 in the afternoon on Friday the 22nd. I will be getting a haircut. I've never wanted a haircut more in my life. It's been 2 months and I can't wait. So good for you. You got a haircut. I also saw a Buick Regal GS Opel Insignia at the salon. Very underrated car. It is. The Buick Regal or the Opel Insignia was a great car. I totally agree with you. And of course, in the U.S., they had the wagon version we never got in Canada. But when you go to Europe and you're driving around, you see a lot of them. They were really quite popular. A lot of them were sort of company cars. Salesmen, or salespeople, I should say, would often get that rental car fleet as well. But actually, nice car to drive. Sky Bond, do you think it drops in new and used value prices due to recession would impact a province like New Brunswick where the COVID-19 has been flattened? No, I don't think it's going to be different in different areas. Because you've got to know that the prices of cars is set sort of more nationally. There are some geographical differences. For example, out here on the West Coast, you know, convertibles probably have a different shelf life and price versus the East at different times of the year. But no, the values of cars is kind of more national because most of the prices set for cars is due at auction. So even though you're in a smaller province, the cars, if you don't have an auction site there, would get sent somewhere to be auctioned off at a big place like Mannheim or Odessa. And that's where they come up with the values of the cars, is at the auction. So unfortunately, it's national. I'll be waiting until December, January for car shopping. I bet huge savings at that time. You might absolutely be right. First of all, with the slowdown, they're looking at probably 25% drop in car sales, which probably means there's going to be more cars than buyers between now and the end of the year. Then you get the flip over of the calendar year. At the end of year, there's often better incentives, so you might absolutely be right. And I think also these low interest rates are not going anywhere. We're going to have cheap money on cars, on loans and things, on mortgages for the foreseeable future. There's some economists thinking it's going to take 2 or 3 years for them to slowly creep back up again. I would just say that if you're patient, I think the longer you wait, the better the deals are going to get. And we'll start to see a bit of a change in attitude when the economy starts to come back. But you have to think, are cars a leading indicator or a trailing indicator of the economy? And we don't know that yet when it comes to COVID-19. I would suggest that cars will probably be a lagging indicator, because a car purchase is something that people are going to have to do, not that they want to do. It's a grudge purchase. My car lease is ending, I got to get a new one. My car is dying, I got to get a new one. My kid's going off to university, I need to buy a car for them to drive back and forth, stuff like that. They're grudge purchases. People don't want to buy cars in this economy. So things are going to get delayed. We have another super chat here, I believe. Ted, Zach, good choice with the Peroni. Macan EV versus Tesla Model Y. I don't know enough about either, but intrigued me as my next big purchase. So Macan, if you're not aware, will be the next full electric Porsche. And this is going to be running on the joint platform they have with Audi. So think the Audi e-tron technology, but in Macan. Not the same system that they use for Taycan. Now, there's a lot of speculation that the next Boxster and Cayman could be fully electric. Okay? There might not be a next Boxster and Cayman. They might be fully electric sports cars. We'll have to wait and see on that. There's a rumor around that. We do know for sure that I believe it's going to be released sometime next year, probably for the following model year, is Macan Electric. So look at the e-tron technology in a Porsche product, but then Porsche-fied, the way that Porsche usually takes those shared technologies and make them their own. That is what's coming. And how will it be compared to the Model Y? Well, we'll have to wait and see. Charlottetown Spud. I got my haircut from my wife. Looks good except for one little spot where the trimmer got away from her. Well, here's the interesting thing. My mother-in-law, Monica, is a hairdresser, has been her whole life, but we're doing the whole separation thing. So if I really, 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 really needed a haircut, I could get my mother-in-law to do it, but probably better just to wait. Yeah, so Charlottetown Spud, send us a picture. By the way, we have almost 200 people on board and only 105 likes. So smash the like button if you could. Have you heard about the TT-tron? Do you think an inline-5 turbo engine will become a classic historic engine? I don't know about a TT-tron. I haven't heard about that, but it could be. If you're referring to an electric TT, well, maybe that's what they're going to be doing. They're going to be making a Boxster and Cayman and maybe making a TT for Audi using the same technology. We're just spitballing here. The 5 turbo engine will become a classic. Well, we don't know. There's some speculation that the Golf R might have the 5-cylinder engine that they use in the RS3. Now, one could only hope. I don't need a Golf R, but if a Golf R came with that engine, I might be inclined to get one. But yeah, it is a fantastic engine for sure. And hopefully they're going to use it for more cars. And that's the main thing, is that they have it. Why can't we get it in more products? Tell people to like the video. I am. We're at 124 now. Let's see if we can get the likes to number of viewers at the same number. What are the best 3 all-wheel drive cars for fun in range of 40 to 55,000? Please exclude WRX, Civic Type R. I'm close to 40 years old, thanks. Well, the Civic Type R is only front-wheel drive. It's not all-wheel drive. I would say Golf R. I would say, just thinking, I would say the Genesis G70 with the 3.3 liter turbo all-wheel drive is fantastic. They did a great job with that car. And I think you could get it for under $55,000. Let me just think of one more. I'm sure there's people screaming at the screen right now for one I'm not thinking of. But yeah, Golf R for sure is right in the low 40s. And that's all-wheel drive. Civic Type R, as you mentioned, is not. So those are 2. Give me off the top of my head. Have Nissan and Subaru gone too far with the CVTs to give them up? Everyone hates them, and you get real performance and economy from a regular automatic transmission. I don't think they're giving it up. And here's the thing is, look at Subaru. Subaru has been shooting the lights out over the last 10 years. They're selling more cars than they ever have. They're not going to get rid of this fuel-saving technology. No, they're not going away. We just had the Sentra. Andrea and I are going to have a video on that in the upcoming weeks. And you know what? I thought it was very good. That new Sentra, this is going to shock some people. The new Nissan Sentra, in my opinion, goes right to near the top, if not the top, of the compact class category. That's how good it is. And it has a CVT. And I would say that if you get 100 people to drive that car, 95% of them couldn't tell you it even had anything unique about it. And that's the main thing, is you and I are car people. We're enthusiasts. We get it. We notice this stuff. The average consumer can't even tell you what kind of car they own. And they certainly couldn't tell you what kind of transmission's getting it to go down the road. So we get hung up on this crap, but the average consumer doesn't. Trust me on this. Most people know nothing about cars. Nothing. And that's why some brands who don't make particularly good cars continue to sell them, because there's people will buy them. They don't know any better. What are your thoughts on American and Canadian import laws? In America, you have to wait a car to turn 25 years old if it wasn't sold in your country originally. For Canada, it's 15 years. Yeah, it's great being Canadian. We have some real cool cars here in Canada, and we get some of those right-hand drive cars from Japan that come here after 15 years. Think of like a right-hand drive diesel Toyota Land Cruiser is pretty good. We get those Delicas and things like that. Some pretty cool cars. And one car I would love to get that's actually getting close to that would be a 540 BMW wagon manual transmission from Germany. Would be a pretty cool car to bring into Canada. Yeah, I don't know why the United States has that, but yeah, in Canada after 15 years, and 15 years is not really an old car. You think about it. The average car on the road today is 9 years old. Unfortunately for the US, you got to wait even longer. Here's a good question. Here's a perfect example. You would think that most car guys would know what the difference is between a body-on-frame truck and a unibody. Now, here's a perfect example. I'm not dissing you, Raj. I'm just saying that this is a very good question. Average person does not know the difference. So a body-on-frame truck is just that. This is the body. This is the chassis with the wheels on it and everything. And it's a ladder design. It's a metal chassis. And then the body gets stuck on top of it. That's a body-on-frame design. That's a pickup truck. That's a Chevy Tahoe. That is Expedition. That is a Land Cruiser. That is some of the old Land Rovers. So body on frame. The Toyota 4Runner is a body on frame. So the chassis is a metal chassis, and then they bolt the body on top. Unibody is where there is no separate chassis and metal that separates the two. Everything is integrated together. The wheels are bolted in to the platform, and the platform is then part of the body. You couldn't separate the two. They're all integrated together. That's why it's called unibody or unit body. So it's all one unit or one singular piece. There's a perfect example of a body-on-frame truck, right? So this body was bolted onto the wheels and the chassis. Same with this Titan pickup truck. But a unibody is everything, the body and the chassis and everything is all integrated. Okay? Hopefully that answers your question. How does the new mid-engine Corvette compare to a Ferrari, Lamborghini, and McLaren? Well, I would say that on paper, it competes certainly very well. I would suggest that when you drive it, I don't think it's a supercar. I think it's a super good deal and a super execution for a mid-engine Corvette. And they certainly did a super job with the pricing. And the engine is super duper. But the thing is, it's not really in the same category as those. When you drive it, unless you really ratchet it up and get it to its most aggressive form, it is actually kind of sort of laid back. It has a very wide envelope of prospective buyers. The traditional baby boomer, older, now getting older, buyer that bought Corvettes forever, and then hopefully a new, younger target market to get to the new Corvette buyer. So in order to have that wide envelope, they had to make the car really quite soft at one end and quite assertive at the other end. But for me, it leaned, for everyday driving, a little bit too soft. Not like those other cars. Hi, Zach. Why do North American cars still have red turn signals? I find this to be a safety issue. It'd be great to have clear, unambiguous brake and turn lights. Well, it's just, I don't know who made the regulations forever ago, but we are still with that. I mean, I owned an old Porsche, and we would buy they called them clear corners, the lights from Europe, the European ones, and the European guys would buy our North American ones. It's just different, and it's just law, that's all. It's a good question. Can Andrea outdo you on the track? No, I would say Andrea couldn't outdo me on the track because Andrea's never been on the track, but that would be a good video. So somebody had a point earlier. Next time I get a manual transmission, I'm going to do a video on trying to teach Andrew how to drive manual. But if there's a local track event, maybe we should get a car and take her out there and have some fun. Big Pizza Pie. Zach, how's it going? Wristwatch check. Well, today I'm wearing my Sea Dweller. This is the deeper version of the Submariner. My first luxury watch I ever bought. I sold my 911. I had a Carrera S, a 993 Carrera S. And when I sold it, I said to my wife, I'm going to keep some money and buy a Rolex. And she said, go for it. That's why my wife is so awesome. For marginally more money, would you get a Lexus GX 460 over a similar year 4Runner? Well, the GX is really the Land Cruiser. They're not the same product. The real comparison is the Land Cruiser. No, I've got that wrong. I'm thinking of the LX. You're absolutely right. They're both based on the same platform. I almost stuck my foot in my mouth there. My big complaint with the GX is it's way too softly sprung. I mean, it's quite top heavy, of course, because it's a body on frame design. And with the softly sprung suspension, I never liked driving it. Now, it has been a while since I have driven one. If it's only marginally more money, then you might want to consider it. And there's certainly less of them around. I'm not sure which one has a better resale value. I know the 4Runner has an immense popularity and great residual value, so that's something to consider. But the GX uses the same technology, but done with the Lexus application. So try them, see which one you like. A new Mercedes G63 is now starting at $196,000 with decent options around $210,000, $260,000 after tax. Do you think it's worth it at that price or just too overpriced, especially with a 25% luxury tax? I would never buy one of these things brand new, ever. It is the most basic technology in that truck. That is a classic body on frame truck. It was built for the Shah of Iran in 1979 and then became a military vehicle. It is the most basic technology that's in that. Now, I shouldn't say basic. It has been immensely refined over the years and they've made it into this luxury product. But there's not a hope in hell I would ever spend that kind of money on a G-Wagon, ever. I just think I think the G-Wagon is really a kind of a ridiculous product. I mean, it's cool, but I would never spend $260,000 on one of those. Hey, Zach, thinking of wrapping a 1996 993 Porsche, do you think it will affect future resale? Well, here's the thing about it is it can come off. I mean, I know it can go on. I'm not a big expert on wrapping vehicles. What I would ask a lot of questions, how easy is it to take it off? And what will it do to the paint underneath? From what I understand, it's going to protect the paint. So if the paint is in good condition and you wrap it, it's going to keep the paint in good shape. I mean, it's an expensive thing to do, but it's cheaper than painting the car. So really ask those questions. Can I take this off? And then if you're having no luck selling the car with the wrap on it, you could always have it taken off. That's what I would ask. But 996, 993, that's a car. That's the real deal. All right, where are we at now? We're over an hour. Thanks to everybody. We don't have many pictures today, but I'll go through them again. We have Marcus with his Mustang, his V6 Mustang, a 2010 there, and his 2008 that he's upgrading to soon in Mississauga. That is an S5 Sportback, also in blue. That is a sweet ride. And Bosco with the Accord V6. I like that era of Accord a lot. Really good car. And if you want to get your pictures through, go and email them to zach@motormouth.ca, zach@motormouth.ca, Z-A-C-K or Z-A-C-K, and get them through. And thanks to Alex, who's watching in Israel, for sending his video question through. That's all the time we have. I will speak to you Thursday, same time. That's 8 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, right here, and I'll chat with you then. Take it easy. Bye now.